The vision is perfect. I don't need to look at the data. I know what the market wants. If they don't like it, just replace them. I only want people around me who fully believe in my genius. Critics are just jealous, or they simply don't understand the level I'm operating on right now. My instincts have never failed me before, so why would they start failing me now when I'm at my peak? Success proves I'm right. The numbers speak for themselves. I don't need anyone else telling me what to do or how to think. Listen very carefully to those words as they come out of your mouth. Pay attention to the tone behind them. That is the sound of rot quietly setting in deep inside you. You think you are being a strong, decisive, visionary leader who has earned the right to trust himself completely. But the truth is far more dangerous and insidious. You are slowly constructing a grand cathedral whose walls are made entirely of mirrors. You have surrounded yourself only with echoes of your own voice, your own ideas, your own certainty, and your own past victories until the real world outside those walls becomes harder and harder to hear clearly. You are not actually building a resilient company that can weather storms, a lasting brand that people trust for decades, or a sustainable empire that outlives you. What you are really building is a beautiful but extremely fragile temple dedicated entirely to the worship of your own ego and the glory of your previous successes. And if you study history honestly, you will see that every single temple ever built to honor a man who began to believe he had become a god has always ended in the same way. Dramatic collapse, often coming suddenly and painfully at the exact moment when the person felt most invincible. You have already fallen, perhaps without fully realizing how far down the path you have gone, into the oldest, most seductive, and most destructive trap in the entire history of human power and achievement, the God complex. This trap does not start with obvious evil or stupidity. It starts with small, reasonable-sounding justifications that feel empowering and even wise in the moment. It feels good. It feels like confidence. It feels like the natural reward for all the hard work you have done. But if left unchecked and unexamined, it will slowly destroy your ability to see reality accurately, your ability to adapt to change, and ultimately, your ability to survive and thrive in the long term. What makes the God complex such a lethal and sneaky disease is how pleasant and invisible it feels while it is gradually taking control of your thinking. It never announces its arrival with a label that says arrogance or hubris or danger ahead. Instead, it cleverly disguises itself as the exact kind of high self-confidence and unshakable belief that every business book, every mentor, every podcast, and every successful person you admire has told you a great leader must possess in large quantities. No one wakes up one random morning and consciously decides, starting today I will ignore all feedback, fire anyone who disagrees with me, and only surround myself with yes men. The process is much slower, more subtle, and more dangerous than that. It happens one small dismissed customer complaint at a time. One team member whose difficult but important questions you begin to label as negative energy or lack of vision at a time. One subtle decision to distance yourself from voices that used to challenge your core assumptions at a time, until eventually you look around one day and realize that the last person who truly dared to tell you no, to push back hard, or to show you where you might be making a serious mistake left your inner circle, your company, or your life many months ago. And instead of feeling alarm or concern, you actually feel a strange, comfortable sense of peace and certainty in the silence that is left behind. This disease feeds directly and powerfully on your own success. The more wins you accumulate, the more tangible proof you think you have that your judgment is now nearly infallible. Every person in your circle who agrees with you starts to feel like validation of your genius. Every absence of criticism starts to feel like confirmation that you are on the only correct path. What once was healthy, motivating self-belief slowly mutates into something rigid, brittle, and extremely dangerous. You begin to operate under a deep unconscious conviction that you see the world from a higher level than everyone else around you, that the normal rules of business, customer psychology, competitive dynamics, and basic human nature no longer apply fully to someone of your caliber and track record. You stop seeing reality as it actually exists in the present moment because you have systematically removed almost all of the friction, resistance, uncomfortable truths, and dissenting voices that once kept you sharp, humble, adaptable, and grounded in the real world. To see with painful clarity exactly how this story tends to end, we need to examine one of the clearest and most extreme historical examples available to us, the ancient God King, perfectly embodied in the figure of the Pharaoh in ancient Egypt. The Pharaoh was far more than just a political or military ruler. In the eyes of his entire society, and especially in the eyes of his inner court, he was considered a literal living God walking upon the earth. His every command was treated as divine law that could not be questioned. He was surrounded by multiple layers of advisors, high priests, administrators, and courtiers whose own power, wealth, status, and literal survival depended completely on their ability to flatter him, agree with him, protect him from bad news, and never, ever dare to openly contradict his divine wisdom or vision. His magnificent palaces and elaborate court protocols were intentionally designed to create physical and psychological distance between him and the daily struggles, failures, complaints, suffering, and honest realities of the ordinary people he ruled over. This extreme isolation is precisely where the fatal, silent rot always began to take hold. Importantly, the Pharaoh was rarely a stupid or fundamentally incapable man. Many of them were intelligent, strategic, ruthless, and capable enough to seize and maintain absolute power in a very brutal ancient world. The real problem was never a basic lack of intelligence or talent. The real problem was the complete and total absence of any healthy friction or meaningful challenge. When no one in your immediate environment dares to contradict you, when every single voice around you is heavily filtered through fear of displeasing you or the hope of gaining favor, you gradually lose the ability to perceive reality with any degree of accuracy or honesty. Your once powerful and useful self-belief transforms into a full-blown reality replacement field that becomes incredibly dangerous. You begin making monumental decisions that affect thousands or even millions of people based on the unconscious assumption that the world, the market, your competitors, your customers, and basic human nature will simply bend and submit to your superior will and divine vision. This exact same destructive pattern has repeated itself with remarkable consistency across many different cultures and historical eras. Roman emperors who publicly declared themselves living gods were frequently assassinated by members of their own inner circle. Absolute monarchs across Europe and Asia, who surrounded themselves with thick layers of flattery and fear, eventually watched their kingdoms collapse under massive debts, disastrous long-term policies, and terrible decisions that no honest advisor was ever permitted to question out loud. The underlying mechanism has remained almost unchanged for thousands of years. Concentrated, unchecked power removes necessary friction and challenge, and that friction was often the only force keeping the leader reasonably connected to reality, adaptable to change, and successful over the long term. This is not merely dramatic ancient storytelling or moral fable. Modern psychological research and organizational studies provide clear, repeatable, and measurable evidence that this pattern is still very active and dangerous in our world today. Multiple peer-reviewed studies examining the effects of power and status on human cognition have produced consistent and rather uncomfortable findings. As individuals accumulate more authority, success, wealth, and status, they tend to become measurably worse at taking other people's perspectives, worse at accurately reading emotions from facial expressions, more impulsive when making important decisions, and significantly more likely to over-rely on their own personal intuition and gut feelings instead of careful analysis of data or valuable external input. Critically, this effect is not limited only to people who are already arrogant or narcissistic by nature. It appears to function as a predictable psychological side effect of power and success itself, showing up even in tightly controlled laboratory experiments where completely ordinary people are randomly assigned temporary positions of authority. In the contemporary business world, we observe this pattern playing out repeatedly across industries. Founders who achieved early success begin systematically removing or marginalizing talented executives who have the courage to challenge their favorite ideas. Leaders gradually stop engaging directly with frontline customer support teams or reading detailed negative feedback because it no longer fits their self-image as an untouchable visionary. Teams slowly become filled with people who have learned through experience that agreeing quickly and maintaining positivity is the safest way to survive and advance. Previous victories create a powerful and seductive illusion of permanent correctness and invincibility. The less unfiltered, honest, and sometimes painful feedback reaches the person at the top, the more unshakably confident and certain that leader becomes, a pattern that runs exactly counter to how genuine long-term resilient success actually functions in a changing world. Now comes the most important and potentially uncomfortable part: translating all of this directly and personally into your own current life and situation without any sugarcoating. Where exactly in your business, your career, or your projects have you recently started dismissing difficult questions from your team or your customers? Where have you begun to stop seriously considering or responding to negative feedback and complaints because you have convinced yourself that you already know better than they do? Where have you quietly started distancing yourself from advisors, friends, or employees who used to challenge you in healthy and constructive ways? In which environments or rooms do you consistently feel like the smartest, most experienced, or most powerful person present? In which areas of your work do you feel the strongest certainty about your vision, even when there are emerging signs or feedback that might suggest course correction is needed? Those specific places and situations are exactly where the God complex is taking root and growing inside you right now. That is precisely where your once clear connection to reality is beginning to blur and distort. Your past successes are not making you sharper or wiser in the way you think they are. They are actually making you more rigid, less adaptable, less perceptive, and in several important ways, less effective and less intelligent in how you make decisions going forward. Success without built-in safeguards and deliberate friction is quietly making you less capable, not more capable. Here is the clear, timeless, and unforgiving law that governs this entire phenomenon. Any sustained period of unchecked power, success, and authority without intentional, protected friction and honest external challenge will almost always lead to a progressively distorted perception of reality and, eventually, to some form of painful collapse, correction, or decline. The higher you rise in achievement and influence, the more actively, deliberately, and consistently you must create and fiercely protect systems, people, and habits that regularly challenge your thinking, rigorously test your most cherished assumptions, and pull you back toward ground-level reality. If you fail to fight the God complex with conscious, ongoing effort and structure, then the God complex will fight you instead. And in most cases, it eventually wins by undermining or destroying the very empire, reputation, and achievements you worked so hard to build. The Pharaoh did not primarily fall because of powerful external enemies storming the palace gates. He fell because he himself had systematically hollowed out and weakened his own court, his own support system, and his own connection to truth from the inside over many years. So here is your clear, direct, and immediate command if you want to avoid the same fate that has claimed so many before you. Actively and ruthlessly kill the Pharaoh that has begun living inside you before it kills everything you have spent years building. Start today by building and fiercely protecting real, functional systems of institutionalized dissent in both your professional life and your personal circle. Seek out, keep close to you, and appropriately reward at least one person, and ideally a small trusted group of people, who has explicit permission and genuine psychological safety to tell you the hard truths. When an idea of yours is weak or incomplete, when you are clearly wrong about something important, when you are starting to lose touch with reality, or when your vision needs serious rethinking and adjustment. Make it not only safe, but actively rewarding and respected for them to speak those difficult truths to you. Publicly celebrate courage and intellectual honesty far more than easy agreement and superficial harmony. Stop demanding total agreement and false harmony at all costs from the people around you. Stop unconsciously or consciously surrounding yourself only with those who would rather watch you walk straight toward a dangerous cliff than risk displeasing you or losing their position in your inner circle. Instead, with deliberate intention, seek out and bring closer the very voices you are secretly most afraid to hear. The ones who have the courage to challenge your deepest assumptions, who bring you bad news earlier rather than later, and who refuse to blindly worship or flatter your vision. Listen to them carefully and with genuine humility. Thank them sincerely for their courage. Act decisively on the parts that prove useful and truthful. Be willing to pay for high-quality, honest critique when necessary. Turn the act of constructively challenging you into one of the highest valued and most respected behaviors inside your organization and your personal life. Never forget this foundational truth. You are not a god. You are not infallible. Your vision, no matter how powerfully you feel it in your heart and gut, is ultimately only a hypothesis that the real world is testing and judging every single day. Stay deeply curious. Stay genuinely humble. Stay willing to be wrong. Stay open to uncomfortable feedback and new information, especially, and most importantly, when you are sitting at the very peak of your success and influence. That is how you build something strong enough and resilient enough to last for many years. That is how you remain truly intelligent and effective even after you have become successful. Now get back to work immediately, but this time do it with your eyes wide open, your ears completely unblocked, and your ego held firmly in check.